Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit. Today, I am going to attempt to do a DIY Starlink mount for inside the Bronco. I've seen plenty of people say that it works through the fiberglass, but I haven't found many DIY options. There are some really great pre-made things that are expensive. However, I also want it to be a type of quick release. I don't want it permanently mounted in here. I just want it in here because we have an upcoming trip to Arizona where we will be doing the entirety of the BDR, with the caveat that my wife will need to do some work while we are driving. So now that the Starlink roam service has in-motion capability, I want to be able to mount it in the Bronco while we're driving, but then I want to be able to easily remove it so that we can mount it on the teardrop when we're at camp, because I use the Anchor Solix to power it while we're camping. I will use the Bronco's onboard inverter to power it while we're driving. I am going to use Unistrut or Channel Strut. Unistrut's more of a brand. I got some different brackets. I got different pieces of scrap Unistrut to try and make a bracket that will go across the top here and hold the Starlink up near the roof. Let's get started. All right, so I have these 4 bolts here will be the ones that attach these brackets to the roll cage of the Bronco, to the pre-installed nut zerts that are in there. I have some 3/8 hardware. This is called a channel nut that sits inside the Unistrut. 3/8 bolt, flat washer, and a lock washer so stuff doesn't come loose. These are the brackets that will attach to the Bronco. And then this piece of metal here will span the 2 pieces of Unistrut, and then I'm going to drill holes in the kickstand and bolt it to this. First thing I'm going to do is I want to put these brackets on so that I can measure across from the outside of one to the outside of the other, and then that'll get me the length I need for the Unistrut that's going to go across the top. Size of the nut zerts that are in the Bronco, this is an M8 bolt with a 1.25 thread pitch. So that's the bolt you're going to need. Now, my understanding, and I saw, is that not all Broncos have these nut zerts installed. You can always drill your own and put them in there. So these angle brackets, if you can see, there's one side longer than the other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put one with the shorter end against the Bronco and one with the longer end against the Bronco. That'll give me just a little more separation. I'm going to get these installed so I can get measurements to go across, and then I can also get measurements up to the roof to get a rough cut for my vertical pieces. So like I said, I'm going to go from the outside to the outside so that the strut just comes to the edge of the bracket and it looks nice and neat. I think we're safe to go for 47. It's a little short, but then that'll keep it on the inside a little bit. So 47 end to end on our long pieces. For those of you not familiar with Unistrut, I'm just going to call it Unistrut. When you get the slotted kind, it is 2 inches between each hole. So it's kind of easy to measure if you're dealing with even numbered measurements. That being said, with a 47-inch measurement, I'm going to be cutting right in the middle of one of these holes. Now, that isn't really a factor for me because I plan on grabbing the strut from the channel side rather than the bolt going through the holes. So cutting it on an odd measurement isn't going to really affect this application too much. I'll show you later too, but I bought some end caps to go over these, so you won't see me really filing down the sharp edges on this, just because I'm going to have some nice black vinyl caps to go over the ends and cover any sharp edges. Now that I got those cut, I'm gonna just make some rough measurements. So on our short bracket here, we're probably only gonna need, right here at the bend is as far down as the Unistrut's gonna sit. To the roof, we're looking at about 7 inches. So I think I'm gonna go 6 inches on there. And then on the longer one, we're looking at about 9.5. So 6, 2 at 6, 2 at 9.5. So let's get those cut. So this is more for those of you who are not familiar with channel strut, and you have your strut nut. You can see it has little grooves here and here. That is what's going to grab the channel. This is just to show you a demonstration. I'll have to feed the bolt through the bracket in the Bronco. The channel nut slides inside, grabs, and then you tighten down and it holds onto that channel just like that. So I got my bolts over here. I am going to feed them through the back of the bracket and just get the channel nut started, just so it's barely on there so you can slide the channel down over it. So we'll do that 4 times. Okay, so now we can slide the strut on there, make sure it's flat. And I'm just gonna snug these up just enough so that they stay. You can see here how there's sharp edges there, so that's why you wanna make sure you get some end caps to go over the end of this stuff, just to protect yourself. So we're gonna slide this guy on. So I'm already noticing that they're really close together. What I might do is flip this one to the back side so they're a little further apart, because you can see here up at the top, they are really close together. So I might flip that around. We'll be back in 1 second. Okay, I like that a lot better. That just gives that little bit of extra space there. Let me snug these up on both sides. All right, good enough. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a speed wrench for that. If you don't know what a speed wrench is, I call them speed wrenches or a ratcheting box wrench. It just lets you get into really tight places. So let's get these longer ones snugged up, just so they're not flopping around. Let's get the Starlink out, and if you see anything in the video that you want more information on, I will leave links to some of this stuff down in the description. This is actually a bag to transport TVs, but it works wonderfully for the Starlink. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the factory kickstand on, because that is what is gonna get bolted to that piece of metal. There we go. I need to see exactly how far down this is going to come from the roof so that I can make the pieces going across the right height. Let me get the tape measure and see what we're looking at. So we're going to put the old trusty eyeball on this. It looks to be about 1 3/8. So I might go about 1 3/4. I want a little bit of a gap from the roof. I don't want it pressed against the roof. I want a little bit of a gap. So that way when I'm fiddling with it up there to get it locked into the kickstand, I have a little bit of play on the top. So we'll go with 1 5/8. I just realized that facing these two, the way I have these mounted, means the brackets would have to face each other, which now puts it way too close together. So I'm going to flip the shorter ones back around, and I think I am going to cut these just into 90 brackets. I think that's just going to be the best way to put this in here. Well, I figured out that I need to measure down from the roof. 2 3/4 inches is going to be the top of my 90 brackets, and that should give me the space that I'm looking for from the Starlink to the roof. So we'll see. We'll set the 90 brackets at that height and see what that gets us. By the way, I played around with facing these different ways off camera, facing these two pieces around. I just ended up going right back to the original plan because I figured that was just going to be best. So, get these here. Proof of concept and checking myself and my measurements here. So what I'm going to do is get these set. And then just rest the 2 pieces of strut on top. All right, here goes the moment of truth. We're gonna rest these up here. And at quick glance, I think we're gonna have to go down further. Now, the real test. How to get it up there is the question. I can already tell that that is gonna be too low. And I might have to go even lower to accommodate, because there's no way for me to fish that in there as is. So what I'm gonna do now then is lower these. Let me get you a better perspective here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lower these on the shorter one as far down as I can, give me that extra space there. And even if it's still, again, not exactly sitting right at the roof, I'm not too worried about it. Let me get these adjusted and I'll be right back. We might have to pick this up on another day. I'm losing my small window of no rain. After redoing everything again, I ended up flipping this guy around to this side. Because I handmade these 90 brackets, they don't work like the ones you would buy that were made to do this. They're longer, so I have to put them up like this because I can't put them into the shape of an L. Otherwise, this doesn't fit on there right. So I flipped this around to the backside and put this as low as I could get it. And then I matched this one pretty close. So now I can slide the Starlink in and out. So now what I need to do is I need to tighten everything down. I'm gonna actually attach these cross pieces to the 90 bracket so that everything is nice and tight. And then I'm gonna figure out where to mount the Starlink, where I'll have room to slide it off the kickstand and still get it out. And then we should be good. Okay, it's a new day. Time and weather got away from me yesterday. We are really close to getting this done. All I need to do now is on this rear piece here, I need to raise it up a little bit. It's a little off. So I was a little worried on how I was going to attach this to these pieces of strut after putting the bolts in. So I bolted it to that piece. They sit just between the two pieces. I drilled through here to put the bolts in. Well, I had some old hose clamps that I just ran through the two holes and it's sitting up there nice and sturdy. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I mean, some of this stuff is still loose, so I don't have it bolted in there the greatest right now. I need to raise this up, get it all even. There are very tight tolerances in here, so I'm going to have to go to a manual box wrench now just to get these bolts to turn. So let me get this raised up and evened out so then I can see where I can cut these down. I just want to leave a little bit sticking up instead of that big monstrous piece. And then we will be able to make a test run to see if it actually works. So let me get this evened out. That looks much better. And I'm just gonna mark the bottom of the bracket on here. I already know this one's gotta go all the way down, but I'll mark it anyway, just so I can make sure that it goes back in the same spot. And I'll do the same on the other side. And I'm gonna mark, I shouldn't need to take it off the angle brackets again, but because there is some adjustment there, if I do, I'll know where the bottom of the strut needs to go back on the brackets. All right, so these are the end caps that I got to go on the strut just to protect the sharp edges. I think I plan on putting them on the bottom as well as the top just to keep these corners. I mean, you know, that's pretty sharp, and if I'm reaching around here, whatever, I have a little inverter here mounted, so if I'm reaching around back here, I have my little air blower over there to blow dust off, so I just want to protect this sharp edge. This one I'm not too worried about, so I might leave that alone. I only want it to stick up as tall as that, so I'll mark the tops of these with the cap and then take all this apart, cut it, get it all back in there, and then we should be able to mount the Starlink in here and see if it actually works. Well, I'm gonna take all this apart. I'm not gonna show that because that's boring. Get it all cut and get it all put back together in here. And then I'll come back when I'm ready to slide the Starlink satellite actually onto the kickstand to see if how easy it is to take it on and off, because that's the whole point of this. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, I have had to redo these and improvise so many times. So do yourself a favor. I think I mentioned it before. Since I homemade these 90 brackets, you don't have room for the bolt heads. You can see you can't tell on the wide angle lens, but trust me, getting the wrench in here to tighten is a pain. A regular 90 bracket's gonna come out further, and this hole here on top will be further out this way to get away from this other bolt head. So in the back, I had to swap out bolts, and I've now just through bolted it to the top on both sides. Luckily, I had some stuff laying around, but she is sturdy now. She is in there. Well, let me figure out where that knocking is coming from. Oh, it's just this here. This is loose, so that's fine. So here comes the moment of truth. Can I get this on here? And more importantly, can I get it back off? I'm not too worried about getting it on because it's gonna slide in there. Click. It is in. It is clicked up in there. It is sitting. It's a little wobbly, so I'll probably do something to prop up this end. But now more importantly, can I get it off with it in here? Oh my God, that was easy. I can't tell you how excited that makes me. Spending that many hours doing this. If that would have failed, and I had to start over from scratch and figure something else out. We're gonna test this now. So we'll be back just like, all right, so I bought a 20-foot cable. I have it just thrown in here for now so I can test this temporarily. I found some squeegees I had. So I got one on this side and then one stuffed up in between where the two parts of the kickstand come together. So we'll see. I don't think that'll ride very well, but for now it'll hopefully keep it mostly steady and keep it from knocking. So I just kind of threw the cable up there. I got the power supply plugged in. Everything's connected. So let's get inside the Bronco, start it up, and see what happens. My guess is I haven't had it plugged in a while, so it's probably going to want to do an update. But if it does the update through the roof, as I suspect it should, then we know it's working. Okay, we're in the Bronco. I'm going to start it up. I'm going to do a screen recording so you can follow along on the phone to see what Starlink is doing. I see the power light on the router, so the router is powering up. All right, you can see it is connecting finally. Took a little bit, and you can see there it is doing a software update. That's probably gonna take a little bit, so I'm gonna pause the screen recording, or maybe I'll let that record, but I'm gonna shut off the GoPro until this software update is done. Really quick while it's updating, you know, I really love these quick mounts for the new GoPro. As you can see back there, the height I have it mounted on, it is tucked up above the roll bar, so it does not come down below that, so it does not obstruct your view out of the rear window. However, more often than not, I have that shelf loaded with stuff anyway, and then when we're pulling the camper, I can't see out the window anyway. But at least when I don't have the Starlink in here, you know, that rack's gonna stay there permanently. It's not blocking my view when I'm just driving around. So let's let it finish this update, but it's downloading the update, so that tells me it's working. Okay, we're online. Let's do a speed test. So let's see what the speed test says. And this is just connecting. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not great right now, but as long as it's enough to surf the internet. Yeah, it's not super, well, there it goes. Right towards the end there, it was picking up. So, I mean, look at the upload speed, that's already better. So you know what, we'll run another one because it looks like it's connecting. You know, it just connected. So we'll run another one just to see. And then Melissa's gonna grab her laptop. So we're gonna test it in motion too. All right, here we go. We're gonna do another one. There we go. That is through the roof of the Bronco. So for all of you out there, if you have fiberglass, that means in an RV, in your Bronco, I believe a regular Jeep top is also fiberglass. The signal will work through the roof. The upload dropped off a little bit, but I'm not super concerned about that. 109 through the roof. No pun intended. Okay, we're gonna get set up to drive, and then we're gonna try this again. So we'll be right back. All right, we are gonna get moving. Got Melissa's laptop connected to the Starlink. We're gonna get out on the street first and actually get moving. Then we'll do some speed tests. All right, so I'm gonna do one. We're not moving too much right now, but I just wanna see. We moved from our original spot, so let's see what the speed test shows. While we're going about 25 miles an hour. I mean, I had a feeling it would drop down from what it was sitting still. We're still looking pretty good here. 50 download, that's plenty of speed to do remote work on your computer, watch movies. We're going about 30 right now. And upload, I mean, not bad. So I'm gonna wait till we get onto another spot where we can kind of move at a more consistent speed and distance without having to stop. But what I might do is do another one while we're sitting here stopped at the light and just see the difference of once you stop, what a difference it makes. All right, so now we're at a stoplight. A little low, which again is understandable. We're moving around. Jumped up to 32. And again, upload not terrible. Just parked. Melissa's running the cans over to the drop box, but we're streaming one of my videos here at 1080p. So far, no buffering or anything. We're gonna head up towards the expressway to take the expressway back home just to see. I don't expect great service at those speeds. We're on the on-ramp onto the expressway here. Melissa still has one of my videos playing at 1080p, so we're gonna leave that going while we do the speed test. All right, we are at 55. Let's see what happens. And it's rainy outside, if you can't hear the rain falling on the windows. I mean, there you go, 58 miles an hour, and we're getting 90, 92, 93 down almost. Upload speed, not shocked. We're at 55 still, 55 miles an hour. Yeah, the upload, not surprised with. Now we're at 60. So we'll hold it at 60 here, and I'm gonna run it again now that we're holding this speed. So let's run it again and see what happens. All right, it did drop down, which I'm not surprised, but again, 60 miles an hour, and it's still climbing up there. About to pass under a bridge, so that might screw it up a little bit. 105. That's insane. Again, the upload, not shocked. But I mean, come on. 105 down at 57 miles an hour. That's pretty awesome. All right, so we're gonna get home and I will give you my final thoughts. Hopefully this helps you make the decision whether you wanna mount it permanently or do something like I did that allows you to still take it out quite easily and put it somewhere else. We're back home. I think that was a pretty successful test. I really like how it turned out. I wanted something that would allow me to easily remove the Starlink so that we can put it on the teardrop when we're camped. If you wanna check that out, I'll put a card at the end to check out the video of our camper. So if you take a look, tucked up, nice, out of the way. Maybe I'll take it all apart and paint it, but as much of a pain as it was to get it in there, I might just leave it for now. I hope you found this video useful. If you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.